Hey, Saiko! Did you ever want to test your might against monstrously gigantic colossi? Well, you're about to, because we're reviewing Shadow of the Colossus. The story behind Shadow of the Colossus is that of your classic boy meets girl, girl slips into a coma, boy travels to the ends of the world and across a very long bridge to bring the girl to a temple where he's made to fight 16 mostly ginormous colossi with only a sword and bow as his weapons in hopes of bringing the girl back. Why would the boy risk life and limb to save her, you ask? Well,
and he walks through hellfire because Brunhilde's worth it.
It's like a Grimm's fairy tale, dark but beautiful and full of haunting and wonderful imagery. The gameplay in Shadow of the Colossus is truly something you have to experience in order to fully appreciate. You might think to compare this game to something like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. After all, in both games you have a sword and bow and you adventure across huge chunks of land atop a horse. But while The Legend of Zelda is a traditional action game with puzzles to solve throughout, Shadow of the Colossus, I would say, is largely a puzzle game. You see, for the most part, the Colossus you fight are huge. I mean massive.
That's a huge bitch!
And your hero doesn't have any magic spells or special weapons he can use to fight the Colossi on equal grounds. Therefore, the only way you can defeat these Goliaths is by finding their weak point and stabbing it repeatedly with your sword. The puzzle is in finding the location of said weak point and figuring out how to reach it. Most of the Colossi have their weak points hidden way up high on top of their head or shoulders, and so the only way to reach them is to climb up these huge monsters. But you can't just climb any part of the creature. Only areas with fur or ledges to cling to are climbable. And as you traverse these giant beasts, they'll try and shake you off much like bucking broncos try to shake off a cowboy. So you have to hold on tight and manage your endurance meter while you're at it. Because if you let your hero get too tired, he'll lose his grip, fall to the ground, and you'll have to try the climb all over again. It's a fun gameplay loop. It's really cool seeing the new Colossi and trying to figure out where their weaknesses are and how to reach them. The best part is, in my opinion, that once you figure out the technique to take them down, it normally doesn't take too long to finish the job, which I think is good puzzle design. In other games, I find it more frustrating than fun when I've learned the attack pattern of a boss, but I'm then forced to repeat the pattern for an hour while slowly whittling away at their strength.
Yes, but we've got to do it from different angles, again and again.
In my opinion, once the attack pattern is mastered, the fight should organically end quickly or the boss should change things up.
Just take one dip and end it.
Making me repeat the same attack pattern over and over just to artificially elongate an encounter isn't very fun to me. And fortunately, Shadow of the Colossus doesn't play that way.
Homie, don't play that.
Once you figure out how to properly reach the weak point, it's normally pretty smooth to finish the job and take down the Colossus. Before I move on from the gameplay, I do want to talk about a crazy bug I encountered while fighting the second Colossus of the game. At first everything seemed normal, but when I tried to climb up the side of the Colossus, I noticed that as soon as my hero grabbed onto the body of the beast, the controls inverted. Up was down, down was up, left was right, and right was left. It became insanely difficult to navigate across the monster as everything was suddenly backwards. It was nuts. I jumped off the Colossus and back on over and over, and each time the controls reversed as soon as I grabbed on. I even tried changing the control mappings thinking that I somehow activated a bizarro control schema, but nothing worked. It kept inverting. I was about to restart from my last save until I noticed my character started shaking and pulsating as if he were possessed.
I'm possessed!
I couldn't see any reason why he was doing this when I wasn't touching the controls at all, but then I noticed something as I panned the camera around. My horse was bucking in sync with the spasms my hero was doing, and I realized what was happening. Somehow, the game thought the hero was still riding the horse. So every time the horse bucked, the hero jolted as if he were sitting atop it. I'm not sure why that inverted the climbing controls, but it was clear the game was in some sort of out of sync state. And I figured I could fix it by climbing back on the horse to get the code in sync again. So I jumped back on the horse, rode around a little, and then jumped off, and this time, my character didn't spasm with the horse. And when I tried climbing up the Colossus again, the controls worked like normal. No inverted controls, and all was good. This was totally an odd bug, and fortunately it was the only time it happened to me throughout the entire game. I imagine it's super rare and was just a freak accident, so I'm not gonna dock the game much for it, but I thought it was pretty funny and wanted to share in case you run into the same. If you've been watching this review, I don't think I'll have to point out that this game looks amazing. From the architectural ruins to the sprawling vistas and of course to the awe-inspiring scale-defying colossi. Every visual in this game is a masterclass in design, animation, and presentation. What's even more impressive is that while the version I played for this review is the 2018 PS4 remake, even the original Shadow of the Colossus for the PS2, which came out over 20 years ago, still holds up. Obviously, the PS4 remake has a higher resolution, better textures, and just packs more visual punch, but the fact that the PS2 version still captures the beauty of the series is a testament to the value of having good art direction. I always admire games that push for artistic merit over just pushing pixels, but it's hugely impressive when a game manages to do both. When Shadow of the Colossus came out for the PS2, it did test the limits of that system with the size of the colossi and the vast areas to explore. Yet it pushed against the hardware limitations artistically, and didn't just eat up compute cycles with hyper-realism that can easily stress hardware while not necessarily doing much in the vein of creative imagery. And with the PS4 remake, the devs were able to achieve that same combination of making the game look amazing while also pushing the limits of the PS4 hardware. When both technical achievement and artistic acumen combine into one game, it's the players who win. Shadow of the Colossus has been on my radar ever since the original came out on the PS2 back in 2005. Yeah, I didn't own a PS2, I was a Dreamcast boy, no regrets. And so I only watched it from afar. I loved the idea of battling gigantic colossi with only a sword and your wits. However, life moved forward, I moved on, and the Shadow of the Colossus was simply an unfulfilled memory deep in the back of my mind. But now, many years later, with a nice collection of consoles old and new, I decided it was time to finally give the game a shot. I actually still don't own a PS2, but I do own a PS4 and decided the remake would be perfect for my first full playthrough of the game. Because I did get a chance to play the PS3 remaster some years back, but I only defeated one Colossus. And I'm happy to say Shadow of the Colossus lived up to the image I formed of the game way back when during the PS2 era. It's everything I hoped it would be, and probably because of the updated PS4 graphics, it looks as amazing as I always felt it looked in my mind's eye. It's because of that I'm giving Shadow of the Colossus a 4.5 out of 5. The only nitpick I have with the game is that the controls can feel funky at times, and despite having a New Game Plus mode, I don't really feel a need to replay it, at least not anytime soon. Maybe if it had multiple endings, that would have made the New Game Plus feel more relevant and enticed me to play again. But except for those tiny qualms, I absolutely love this game. It successfully captures the excitement of battling beasts 20 times your size and wraps the combat in a fairy tale that, as some would say, is a tale as old as time. If the beauty and majesty of Shadow of the Colossus calls you in any way, give this game a shot. Whether it's the original PS2 version, the PS3 remaster, or the version I played for this review, the PS4 remake. Any version you get will be grand, will be exciting, and will make you feel like you can take on giants. And if you do fall in love with the game, you'll be happy to know that Shadow of the Colossus is actually one of 3 games in sort of a spiritual trilogy from the development studio Team Ico. Unfortunately, Team Ico is no longer around. But before they disbanded, they produced 3 original titles that all seem to capture the magic and fantasy elements of the Shadow of the Colossus. Their first game, titled after their namesake, was Ico, a game about a boy and girl trying to escape an abandoned castle they were left stranded in. Their second title was the game this review is about, Shadow of the Colossus, and their final title as a team was The Last Guardian, a game about a boy and his bird-like creature. It was their most ambitious title and unfortunately received the most mixed reviews, but I still want to play it. I'm glad I finally got to play Shadow of the Colossus, and I think if you give it a chance, you'll enjoy it too. Also, if you're curious how good the other Team Ico games are, stay tuned to this channel because I plan on reviewing Ico and The Last Guardian as well.